This is a response to Pro Wrestling U on their video, top 5 most greedy wrestlers and top 5 non-greedy wrestlers. Greedy wrestlers basically meaning wrestlers that are just in for the money and aren't in it for, trying to help out the sport, evolve the sport and stuff like that. Non-greedy, obviously meaning the opposite, people that are there to, help out the sport, not really trying to go after the big money deals and want to actually put over wrestlers. Now, let me start off with the top 5 most greedy wrestlers. I'll start with number 5, Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash is one of those guys that is easily just in for it for the money, and he doesn't really try to lie that he's in for it for the money. He said countless times that that's pretty much his main focus of being in the wrestling business, and probably is the main reason why he's staying around in TNA, because he doesn't even have to really perform in TNA, and probably knowing TNA, he's probably one of the top paid wrestlers there, and he's not even doing anything other than maybe a few on-screen roles. And when's the last time he's actually wrestled a one-on-one match? Even though I don't want to see that, though. Then the next one is number 4, and this is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, I just put him on this list because I think he was a little gritty. He got too much too fast, which is a thing that happens with a lot of stars, which pretty much after the whole Brock Lesnar fiasco where WWE tried to push him very fast, then after he wanted to leave the wrestling business, start out trying to do NFL, which failed, then obviously now he's doing MMA, which looks like he's actually found something that actually he's going to do good at. But, knowing him, it wouldn't shock me if at some point he loses focus with that and wants to do something else. So I mainly put him on for that reason, and, he's just one of those guys that, he wasn't, he's kind of greedy, but not, he, always wanted to go over a certain way and stuff like that. Is mainly why I put him on this list. Then, number 3, and this is probably by no one's shock, and this is Bill Goldberg. Goldberg's obviously one of those guys that have been very greedy with the wrestling business, especially, post WCW. There's one other guy that I almost put on this list, but I kind of Nash and I think Brock Lesnar edged him out, and that's Sid Vicious, which both Sid Vicious and Goldberg, due to some of their bookings in WWE and WCW, basically, those companies, especially Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg, WCW, the way they booked him in a way where it almost seemed like he was better than anyone, just the way, the undefeated streak built his ego up so well that it just made him so greedy with the wrestling business. Then, number 2, and this is nobody's shock, is Ultimate Warrior. I was about to put him number 1, but there's someone else that is number 1, which if you can't guess, you'll probably already know who it is. Anyway, Ultimate Warrior, a guy just like Brock Lesnar, just like Goldberg, got way too much. Probably should have never really got as much as he been. Should have never been World Heavyweight Champion. I'm sure he was marketable in the early 90s, but he just got so greedy. His ego got so heavy. He even went as far as change his name, so WWE would have to pay him royalties almost any time they used the name Ultimate Warrior. All the times where he missed shows back in the day, refused to work shows unless he was given more money. And then number 1, and this is a guy that, I'm not a fan of. A lot of people are, and he's obviously one of those guys that even though I'm not a fan of, I will at least admit that he did do a lot for the wrestling business. That's Hulk Hogan, but that still doesn't take away from him being greedy, because, pretty much if it was for Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon in the 80s, the wrestling business wouldn't have, changed the right way it was. If, it probably would have still been, I don't think it still would have been, but it probably would have took a little later for it to get out of the whole territory system, which, is one of those things in the wrestling business that Vince, killed off and probably, really hurt, a lot of guys coming up today because you don't got the territory system. And Hogan's just one of those guys that, he has so much control with his character, the way he goes over, who he puts over, the way he puts them over, where his match is placed, and just stuff like that. And, even though he's done a lot of stuff for the wrestling business, I think he's done more negative to the wrestling business than he's done positive. Because there's other people like him, Triple H and other people, are so greedy about, who they want to put over, where they want to place at. And, pretty much is the reason why he's number 1. Then let me go to the non-greedy 5, and number 5 is Mick Foley. Mick Foley is one of those guys you can tell he's in it just for the wrestling. He isn't in it for the money, even though the money is a good thing. Where, some people in the wrestling business are in for it, obviously, for the money, plus at the same time they want to help out the sport, help out new stars and stuff like that. And that's kind of what Foley is. He has been in for it for the money, but he's in for it at the same time to help out new stars. He's in for it to help out promotions. After he got released from WCW in the 90s, went to ECW, helped them out just like the next person, number 4, Terry Funk. If it wasn't for Terry Funk, as far as the first ECW pay-per-view, and I don't think ECW would have got off to the level they did if it wasn't for Terry Funk. Terry Funk did do a lot for ECW and, pretty much got them pay-per-view. He was one of their big known names that they did have for their first pay-per-view, and obviously exposure they got from WWE Raw back in the day, and pretty much helped them out as well. But Terry Funk, he's definitely in for it, for the wrestling, to help out the sport. I mean, him still at his age, he's still wrestling, God knows how many times he said it's his last match. That's almost becoming hilarious how many times he says that, but, he's still, he's still a great mind for the wrestling business. He has done a lot for it. Then number 3 is Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer is probably the most unselfish wrestler in the wrestling business. He'll do as many jobs as he wants. He doesn't care about holding world titles. He don't care about holding any titles. He doesn't care how much he has to job. He'll go out there, just perform, and just help do something to help out other stars. Put over, up and rising stars and stuff like that. And, he's really probably one of the most unselfish wrestlers when it comes to that, and the main reason why he's on this list. Then number 3, Ric Flair. Ric Flair is, in my opinion, my favorite wrestler of all time. There's some that come close, but still Ric Flair is probably always going to be, in my opinion, the best of all time. He's done a lot for this wrestling business. Pretty much, when you think of Ric Flair, you think about wrestling. Obviously, when you think about Hogan, you think about the sports entertainment aspect where, both of them are good, but I think Flair has done more for this wrestling business as a whole than Hulk Hogan has. Flair has really, made stars. He pretty much made Sting. If it wasn't for Ric Flair, Sting wouldn't have got to the level he has, and, other people he's made over the past as well. And, still at this point, he's semi-retired, I guess you would say, because he's still, he's doing guest appearances for, independent promotions, and I wouldn't shock me at some point him popping up in TNA, which I wouldn't mind seeing, something like him and Sting, or, Flair and, AJ Styles, something like that would be cool to see. So definitely he's one of those non-greedy wrestlers. He's another one of those wrestlers like Foley has been it for the money before, but as a whole, I think he's, not that greedy. Then number 1, and this is easily the non-greediest wrestler of all time, and that's Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson is easily in it for the sport of professional wrestling. He's in for it to help out the sport. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a Ring of Honor fan, but Bryan Danielson is one of those guys that just wants to help the sport out. He could have several times took a deal from WWE, left the independent scene, left Ring of Honor, and just, went to WWE, toned down his style, but he wants to perform to his full ability and doesn't want to be basically dumbed down by the other promotions. And, he's willing to, take the sacrifice of less money, but he still wants to, help out the sport, and easily he is the, non-greediest wrestler, and that's my top 5 most greediest wrestlers, top 5 non-greediest wrestlers. And by the way, subscribe to Pro Wrestling and You if you're not already subscribed to them. I'll put the link in the description right over there. If I got it the right way, I think it's over that way, my bad. And other things I want to just throw out is definitely this coming week, not this week, not tonight, but next Sunday we got a couple good things. We got the new season of Family Guy starting. Night before, we got one thing I'm really looking forward to, and that's the stand-up special on HBO of Chris Rock. So definitely all you fans that of Chris Rock, stand-up comedy, definitely look out for that. That's probably going to be incredible. And some other things I want to throw out is anyone that hasn't checked out the HBO miniseries or series, whichever one you want to call it, the series True Blood. I would definitely recommend seeing it if you're a fan of the vampire movies, vampire miniseries. Definitely if you're a fan of the movie The Lost Boys. I think they kind of do it in a route like that, but kind of innovative stuff on there. Definitely a good show that HBO has put out, and the new season of Entourage has been pretty good so far, and we just had the season finale on Showtime of the series Weeds, and definitely, don't want to spoil the season ending just in case anyone hasn't seen it yet, or, some people are waiting for the DVD to come out, but definitely, a shocking way for the season to end, and definitely going to leave a lot of stuff open and probably make the next season probably one of their, best seasons so far, just the way it ended and just all the things they can leave open for the next season for. I definitely can't wait for.